So How to Blow Up a Pipeline is a 2022 indie film about extreme environmental activism. Andy and I covered the trailer a while back on the show. It's a smaller one, but we were like, this looks like something interesting. It's a movie that's covered in film grain and full of actors who you haven't seen in anything. It's written by one of the stars who wrote it with the director and another writer. And it's functionally kind of a heist movie. It's about a group of extreme environmental activists who are willing to damage property in order to accomplish their means of trying to slow or halt or at least bring awareness to climate change. The movie opens with one of our characters stabbing the tires out of like a Ford F-150 and then leaving a sign on the window that says like, here's the reason I destroyed your stuff, because this is bad for everybody and we shouldn't have it, and sorry, but them's the rules. This accelerates when one of these activists decides, hey, we should do something big. We should make a statement. We should blow up an oil pipeline in Texas. So they find a house, coordinate with some friends, figure out how to communicate without using phones or anything trackable, and then they all meet over a weekend to build 2 bombs and blow up 2 sections of pipelines to send a message to the world without harming anybody specifically that oil is bad and we're ruining the environment. But along the way, they start to realize, you know what? Maybe this does actually have victims. Like maybe this isn't just going to hurt big oil. Maybe it's going to hurt people at the gas pump. Maybe it's going to hurt families. In fact, who knows what this could do? It might even hurt us if these things go off because we're building a bomb in the desert from details we found on YouTube. Like it's gritty. It's hard-boiled. How to Blow Up a Pipeline is a really surprising feature. It's available on Hulu right now. I'm excited to talk about it. Andy, what'd you think?
I really enjoyed a lot of this film. I feel like it doesn't know how to end, how to kind of stick the landing. It's based on a book, which is it's not a novel. It's a polemic that basically argues that kind of passive means of environmentalism are too slow and ineffective, and so because big companies are essentially destroying the environment, then it's justified to use direct action, like destroying infrastructure to fight back. So that's kind of the thought experiment that this is based on, and then this whole novel, whole story is built around that. I feel like the movie's really thrilling because, like you said, it's a group of people working together to build explosives, multiple explosives to damage pipeline infrastructure, and it's a whole lot of DIY bomb making, which can go wrong at any moment. So it's very thrilling, and they're on the verge of getting caught a lot of times. There's flashbacks to all the character stories. I feel like it needs another act. Like it doesn't know how to finish. Like what happens when you apply this philosophy in the real world? Because it's one thing to say like, yes, we should fight back stronger to make change happen. It's another thing to do it and see what the real world ramifications would be. So there's a lot that works about this, some that doesn't.
A quick run through of our cast, because many of them are small times or unknowns you may not have heard of yet. I think everybody is solid in it, and I've got a couple of honorable mentions in here. Ariel Ibarra is Sochi, kind of our lead organizer, lead activist who kind of puts this crew together. She's also the writer on the film. She's the head writer, helped put it together. Yeah, helped kind of adapt it from this book. Additionally, we have Kristen Frozeth as Rowan, Lucas Gage as Logan, who we've seen in a few features. I can't think of any directly right now. White Lotus on HBO. Yeah, Forrest Goodluck is Michael, who's probably our most exceptional performance. He's this very understated young Native American man who is very fed up with the way oil has basically turned his family into a bunch of like bead makers. Like they're just not doing anything exciting. So he is kind of our bomb maker. We previously saw him as Leonardo DiCaprio's son in The Revenant. It's a really small role, but like I don't know why he jumped out at me, and I looked him up and was like, that's where he came from. Sasha Lane as Theo, Jamie Lawson as Alicia, Marcus Scribner, Sean, Jake Weary as Dwayne. That's I think our leads. There may be a couple others, but that's pretty much who we've got. Irina Bedard is Joanna. I'm sorry, that's the other one. all of these people come from different walks of life. Most are liberal, save for Jake Weary as Dwayne, who is super not liberal, but it's his land in Texas, and he is over it. So, like Forrest Goodluck's Michael, the bomb maker, he feels like he's got something in common with him. Many of our characters are paired with somebody else, like they come from the same place, so they have a similar origin story. And the film is split up by this kind of couple of days where they're building the bombs and trying to get them out to the pipeline, and flashback sequences in between that act as chapters with title cards that give us just a brief, like, 8 minutes, like maybe 10 minutes into who these people are before you're right back out to the weekend with harrowing music and a pulse pounding soundtrack. Yeah. And a pace that feels like we are building to something of an explosion, which I think is a very smart structure.
Yeah, I was going to say keen-eyed viewers will recognize Jake Weary from It Follows. He's the boyfriend character that we meet in the kind of opening scene. This is a good cast, but the cast is a little bit too big. And like I said, there's a lot of flashbacks to all the characters' backstories and basically how they've all been negatively affected by climate change in one sense or another. Either directly, some of the characters are sick, have been made sick by living close to refineries. Jake Weir's character Dwayne, who's the Texas boy, his land has been seized via eminent domain, and he's looking to fight back. So they all have all these different backstories, but there's like 10 of them, and it's kind of a lot, and I start to lose track. And the problem with the big cast is screen time gets cut down. So we don't really spend a lot of time with everyone.
No, you're absolutely right. Like, and I think the movie does a fine job of giving you just enough of everyone to not lean in any one direction too strongly. You do have a couple characters who are more prominent than others, but for the most part, everybody gets equal screen time. I think if you're going to have a cast this big, it's probably smart to keep them a little simpler, right? You're not getting too in the weeds with any one person. I love the look of this movie. It is shot with a lot of film grain, and the color's really washed out, and it comes off looking like a 70s snuff movie or something, right? Like it looks intentionally low budget. Like it comes off looking almost, it reminded me a lot of like old Texas Chainsaw Massacre, honestly, with kind of like the golden sunlight coming out over Odessa. Like it makes it feel like something that's older. It makes it feel like something that's retroactive, even though it's a story that is very, very contemporary. And I think that's because of where the book comes from, right? Like it harkens back to this feeling like this has been a problem for a long time. This has been a thing forever. And like, I think that gives gravitas to the statement the film is kind of making, which is, like the book, that, you know, destructive activism is maybe necessary. Wild idea. And it's actually seen this movie get in some hot water. I know there were some theater chains that were like, hey, we don't love this. There were some distributors who didn't like it. I know there were a couple film festivals that were like, we don't know if we're running How to Blow Up a Pipeline, because it's just so incendiary. Honestly, covering it on the show here, I'm not even sure how this is going to go up on YouTube, because I'll upload this review like we always do, but I don't know what kind of views it's going to get with a title like How to Blow Up a Pipeline. Like that automatically like draws attention in a negative way. And the film doesn't necessarily shy away from that message. Like, interestingly, I think its thesis statement is that, yes, like the book says, it is kind of necessary. And that's bananas to say that there's a movie like that, but that's part of what makes it feel so exciting, right? Vice called it a ticking time bomb. And like in that way, I think what an appropriate title, what an appropriate subject.
Yeah, I think that's one of the fascinating things is that it takes the premise of like, yes, we should fight back against the big oil companies, corporations, and shows us a group of people walking through and doing it. And I think the problem is that the film just kind of ends there, and I feel like we need another act of, okay, what happens in the real world when you take this kind of direct action? What's the legal fallout? What's the social fallout? What does it how does it affect other people? Does it inspire other people? Does it hurt people you didn't intend to? What is the realistic effect to it? And these are great questions that I feel like the film ends too soon, and it gets bogged down in the second act with, I think, too many backstories, and you could have cut some of that to give us a little bit more in the third act of like, well, what's the result of this ideology in practice?
Yeah. Like overall, I think How to Blow Up a Pipeline is Well, I guess I should save my overall thoughts for recommendations, but like I think I was really charmed by how tenuous some of the action sequences in this film feel, because like I said, whenever you're in the modern day, or whenever you're in the sequences of a couple days and they're building the bombs and planning on putting them out there, like there's just this constant feeling of pressure, because not only are your characters afraid of getting caught, but like there's this, you don't want to get blow themselves up, and they're hoping that like their message will be due, right? Like obviously they're doing this for a reason. It's a scary thing. What if they get arrested? What if they get caught? What if one of them, gets injured mortally? Even like what do they do? Like what is the plan? At one point, one character points out like we can't even go to a hospital because we all have excuses for where we're at right now to make this possible. It's surprisingly well planned, but also very clumsy. It's like kind of like walking into a heist movie halfway through it. Almost like Reservoir Dogs, although that's technically the end of the heist, right? Like you miss the actual bit. And I think How to Blow Up a Pipeline, like for its small beginnings and for its simple budget, like really shoots the stars. And I'm surprised at how well it comes over, I think, for me. Any other thoughts, Andy, for recommendations?
I love the score. It has this very like 70s, 80s synth score that just keeps it going. The first act, I think, really moves. Like it's edited so tightly before it kind of gets too long in the second act. But the score is moving. It's got this synth thing. It reminded me of like Blade Runner. I'm gonna be adding it to my very long Spotify playlist of film scores, which I haven't added to since Across the Spider-Verse. So I'm be anxious to add a new score to it. Love the score to this.
Keep in mind, it's a very curated list. Oppenheimer may win best score this year, and Andy hasn't even bothered to get it on the score list. Like
it's winning for like three good tracks.
They're amazing. They're the best tracks of the year. No, we'll see. We don't even know if it'll win yet. But
sing the theme. Sing the theme to Oppenheimer.
Hum the Oppenheimer theme. Andy, would you recommend How to Blow Up a Pipeline?
Yeah, I would. I would say I would have loved to have caught this in the theater. We watched it on Hulu, but it's a very interesting film. Like I said, it's more like a thriller with these people trying to do something very illegal, very dangerous, and you're not real sure if they're going to get away with it or not. There's political elements, police elements. Gets a little bit bogged down in the second act with a big cast and a lot of backstories, but overall, really enjoyed it. Thrilling. It's on Hulu. Highly recommend.
Yeah, I'm in the same boat. It's a Hulu watch, not very long. Like has really good pacing. Totally a good time if you need to do laundry on Sunday or something, or just want something to throw on, or maybe you want to sit down and watch something like a little offbeat but pretty interesting. Like give How to Blow Up a Pipeline a shot and tell your friends, because like it is not that bad of a feature. I think it's really interesting. I'm excited to see what these kids come up with next. And that's that's our show for a week. Andy, this is our fastest episode we've done in a minute. Oh my gosh. I don't know how this happened to me.
What's the timestamp? I can't see it.
We're at like 49 minutes. Yeah, normally we add another 10 on here, but I think that's going to be it. I've been coming around on these ideas of like bonus reviews because I think, every little bit helps. And I had an idea for one this week. I was going to talk about the Coraline 4K, but I don't have anything queued up for it, so I'll just say it's good. And Coraline's a solid Leica movie. Andy, did you watch anything this week?